Hi, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. And this is the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast.
This podcast is all about taking action and creating that badass business abundance and life that you want.
Where we share stories, laughs, wins, and epic fails to show you the whole picture of the entrepreneurial journey.
It's not just unicorns and rainbows, people.
Jump on and follow us through this raw and witty roller coaster,
where we get down and dirty and go behind the scenes of life and entrepreneurship.
Get on it,
get over it,
and get after it.
Hi, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. Welcome to the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. Lynn, who is our guest today?
Ingenius with Ingenius Selling Alternatives. Alternative to selling. Which one is it? I already forgot. We just started this.
Either works. I normally go for ingenious alternative to selling.
Yeah. Mind you, and I want to keep this in because he literally just told me, he's like, I've worked with people who aren't as smart sometimes, so I have to explain it. Right after he explains it to me, who's not the smart one? Anyway, welcome Ian. Ian is a part of our book, The Pursuit of Badasserie, the sales edition. We're really stoked to have him on today. I personally have had a few meetings with him and had a conversation with him. I don't know. I think I met you almost a year ago-ish. And he's just pretty amazing and quite the character. So welcome, Ian.
Lovely to be here.
And that is his real name, guys. Like, how phenomenal is that?
Yeah.
And just in case anyone is intimidated, I am the world's thickest genius. It doesn't quite make sense. It's like being the world's tallest dwarf. It's technically true. I mean, if you had a load of geniuses, there's one at the bottom who's the thickest, has to be. You're still in good company. You're just not you're not the creme de la creme.
There we go.
You know?
We got to have all.
We've got to be properly represented.
Absolutely. Diversity and inclusion. All right. So Ian, let's dive right in. How did you get started in sales?
So I finished a degree in maths, had no money, had no clue, had no job, and I was going to take anything. The thing is, I've always hated being sold to. Absolutely detested being sold to. And you get to the end of the conversation with people and you know they're going to start closing you. You know they're going to start asking you that they could say something really horrible, like which one do you want, the blue one or the green one? And you're thinking, I haven't actually said I wanted either of these, right? Or they say something horrible like, when are you looking at starting? Again, you're sort of forced into a cul-de-sac. You're buying under duress. And I found a lot of sales approaches I've seen, they're sleazy, pushy, manipulative, greedy. And if you reject what they're trying to force down your throat, you know you're going to end up just going through a whole series of why don't you want it and what's the problem with it, and it's like fight or flight. So you spend the last you can see it gradually approaching this closing point. So you're already starting to work out how you can weasel your way out of this conversation, creating like fictitious scenarios like I've got to run it past my wife and I haven't even got a wife. I'm trying to think what's plausible that will get me out of this position. So with all this utter detest for selling, I thought what would be a very fantastically great idea would be to become a salesman. So I've decided to go into the one industry that I absolutely detested, and then figure out for the next 24 years, is there a far more effective, more ethical, quicker, easier solution to get clients to say yes that doesn't involve getting better at selling? And that's what I've spent 24 years, obsessed on the subject. Can you make it so easy to buy that you do not need to get better at selling? So that's where it will stem from me.
I love that because I feel like so many people have this, and we've talked about this before, this feeling that selling is something you get sold to under duress always. It's just like what you said, like it, and I have definitely used every excuse when you get on that sales call and you just know because of the way they sound that they're about to try to sell you something, and you'll think of anything. I mean, it's like, oh, my baby just, lit his hand on fire. I got to go. Like whatever the excuse you can come up with, but you definitely feel that instantaneous dread and fight or flight in a sales call that you don't want. And it's, that's a tough one.
Buyers completely. If you buy under duress, you're going to regret with buyer's remorse. You're going to cancel abruptly, and you're going to tell everyone to avoid them like the plague. Mm-hmm. Now, we all know the best salesperson of any business is never in the business. It's the loyal cheerleader that says, they're fantastic, the service is fantastic. And so what you don't want is someone then to say, avoid them like the plague is absolutely awful. It's literally the polar opposite of what you want out of an outcome.
Absolutely. I know you have some pretty funny stories figuring out your way around sales and how to actually sell or having people buy, which we'll get into in a little bit, like what exactly you teach. So give us a funny story of a lesson that you learned in your early years of selling.
For me, it's just about, the whole thing it's not about selling. We've all got a service or a product that helps people. We all help people in some form. But before they can use you, first they've got to choose you. So everything falls back to, do people make the best choices? Right? So this is where it all goes wrong. So imagine I said to you, would you like me to cut your, do you say grass or lawn? What do you say for the green? Lawn, yeah? If I said I could cut your lawn with a goat, right? Would you want me to do that? Would you want me to come around and cut your lawn with a goat?
Well, we're both from Hawaii, and that's actually a thing in Hawaii. So that's why I'm laughing, because
right.
people.
I'm like, that sounds great. Actually, that's very eco-friendly.
Anywhere else, they wouldn't know how uneven the lawn's going to get eaten by a goat. They wouldn't know if it would take them eternity to eat. They don't know if the goat's going to start munching all through their flower beds. Again, I don't know what goes on in Hawaii. I didn't do enough research. But maybe this is another way they get their lawn cut in Hawaii. If I said to you, would you like me to cut your lawn with a laser beam? Is that a typical method of having your lawn cut in Hawaii?
No.
Not so much, right? So I could say that, would you like me to cut your lawn with a laser beam? And again, you might be thinking, what if you kill next door neighbour's dog? What if I chop through the fence? What if I slice the tyres with this laser beam? Right? So you might say yes or no. Would you like me to cut your lawn with a pair of scissors? God, it will tell you, there's all these, you have to make assumptions and misconceptions about how long things take, the dangers involved, and they're either going to be right or they're wrong. But if you came back to your house and the lawn was absolutely beautiful, pristine, right, and I left an hour ago and you went, that lawn looks amazing, do you actually give us stuff, whether I cut it with a laser beam, a goat, a pair of scissors, or a normal lawnmower, right? So the problem is the solution gets in the way. You know you've got long grass over here, long lawn, it's a mess and you don't want to do it, that's the problem. And you want to go, wow, that's amazing, I can't wait to invite people round, that's where you want to be. But the bit in the middle is the solution, and people make wrong assumptions about the solution. But if you go to most networking meetings, that's the bit they're selling. They say, this is the solution we're offering. And so everyone there's thinking, oh, I don't think it's going to work for me. Because they're just making all these assumptions up. Now, if they actually sold the problem, they really explained the problem to the person, and God, I've got that. And I know how bad the problem is. Oh, I forgot about that problem as well. And then you almost said, look, I've got the solution to that problem. And you almost didn't tell them what that solution was. But the fact you went into so much detail about the problem you solved, they'd know you solved it. And so, for me, it's not about selling solutions. It's about people understanding the problem and getting them to their end goal without confusing matters too much with the solution that gets in the way. But I'm guessing too many stories about goats, laser beams, and scissors.
Well, who knows?
That's the
Not enough.
Hey, come on.
I remember having this conversation with you a while ago, and it actually came back up hearing you again. And all I can think about is like when I owned the security company, or even before I owned it, I was just selling for and managing another security company, and I could go into a home and talk about all the different things because they had all these different questions. And the second I got away from them seeing what their problem is and the why that they wanted me there, and got into like the weeds, as some of my mentors would call it, but then they would start asking me about like, the technology, because it was wireless. Is it going to interfere with this? Is it going to make my pacemaker skip a beat? Is it going to like all this other stuff? And I was like, whoa, we got like so far off of like what it should be. And so like, I'm like reliving that horror that I had to go through, where they would like bombard me with all of these questions, kind of like your laser beam questions and your goat questions. And it was so obvious that they were disconnected and I was disconnected from their real problem and the picture that they felt in their head. And it just got them completely side railed or sidetracked. So I love to use that example.
And I love the simplicity of that example, because I think when we talk about like features and benefits and what you're selling and how to explain it to people, that idea of what exactly it is you're selling, I mean, selling that solution, it's such an important part of selling, but that's a perfect way to describe it in like its simplest form of like, no one cares how it gets done as long as it gets done right and gets done well, preferably at an affordable rate. That's a great example.
So for me, it comes down to three things. So if they come to you with a problem, right? You're the expert, they've got a problem, right? And you've got the solution. And let's say at the end of a conversation, 3 people say yes, 7 people say no. So at least 3 people said yes. 3 people made the best choice out of 10 to use you and your services, and 7 people didn't. But if you're the best solution to the problem they have, the only other choices they could have made will go to your inferior competitor. That doesn't help them. They can do it themselves, but they haven't got the skills and experience that you've got, and 20 minutes of YouTube doesn't offset your 20 years, so that's an awful choice. The only choice remaining after your inferior competitor and doing it themselves badly is to do nothing at all and hope it magically goes away. Well, that doesn't work, right? So 7 times out of 10, they've made an awful choice, right? For other people, that's not the case. They're not converting 3 out of 10. They're converting, say, 6 out of 10. So they go, well, mine's not a conversion problem, and I'm converting 6 out of 10. That's really good. But when they look at it deeper, 5 out of the 6 people they actually did convert are taking their bronze service instead of their gold. Or they're taking one of the 5 services. So the company has 5 services that each help the clients in a slightly different way, and the client at the end of the conversation would just go for one, right? Who does that help? They missed out on 4, you missed out on 4. They go for your bronze, they miss out on the extra help of the gold, you miss out on the extra help of the gold. It might have not been the choice from saying I don't want to use you to I do, but within that choice of I do, they're still making a bad choice. It's just about choices. So why does someone make a bad choice? No one, either of you deliberately gone to a sandwich shop and deliberately bought the sandwich that made you wretch? Where is that Brussels sprout sandwich? Right? No one deliberately sets out to stitch themselves up. So 7 out of 10 people didn't deliberately want to get a rubbish answer. The 5 people out of 6 that took the lesser service weren't deliberately trying to make a bad choice. They were trying to make a good choice. It wasn't easy enough to make a good choice. So now, logically, whose job is it to make it easy to make a good choice? Is it the beginner who knows nothing, or is it the expert that knows it front to back and back to front and inside out? It can't be the beginner's fault for getting the choice wrong. They don't know. If they come to you with the wrong problem, it's not their, you've got to show them what they come to you, I've got this problem, and you go, it's over here, your problem. Now, if you tell them that, that'll create a fight, right? You're wrong. It's not that one over here. It's this one over here. No, it isn't. You can't help someone you're fighting, right? So there's loads of things that get in the way, but it's got to be the expert's fault. If the beginner makes a bad choice, it's got to be the expert's fault. And why? And then so now you're down to what is the expert not doing that's making that choice too hard? And I put it into 3 categories. If you're not confident selling yourself, is it possible they're not confident buying? Yeah. If you don't believe categorically you're the best solution to their problem, you've got cracks all over your foundation, is it possible that they'll see those cracks and they're losing a bit of belief? If you're assuming and making misconceptions about he wouldn't want to pay that much money, therefore I won't tell him this service exists. So you get in your own way. That's the first reason why someone makes a bad choice. The expert gets in their own way. The second problem is, if I don't understand the problem I have, am I going to solve it? No, I don't even understand what I've got yet. If I don't realise how bad it is, am I going to pay to solve it if I don't know how bad it is? I'm not going to go to the doctors with pins and needles in my arm. Now, as the expert, you haven't got pins and needles, mate. Your arm's about to fall off. But if I don't think it's about to fall off, I'm not going to pay to sort pins and needles out. And so do they know how bad it is? And then once they go, I know I've got a problem, loads of problems, and I know how bad they are, but I've no idea how your solution solves it. So it's about understanding. It can't be the beginner's fault for not understanding. It's the expert's fault for not making it easy enough to understand. And then the last problem, this is the biggest frustration I see in every business, bar none, is that prospects focus on the price of the service and not the value it delivers. Going back to what Amanda was saying a second ago, people just want the outcome, right? So no one wants a website. They want more clients taking more services for more money. If they said, I'll make your website half as good as it is, but you'd end up with twice as many clients taking twice as many services for twice as much money. Yes, please. That's what I want. So, it's the outcome. So when people say, my service makes people money, my service saves people money, my service saves people time, and then you say, okay, how much? I don't know. I can't tell. It depends. I'd be guessing. What a load of old cack. You want me to pay you money to make money and you can't give me any idea how much it's going to be. Don't be surprised when people focus on price, because that's the only thing you're giving them. Your fault again. When prospects don't see the value, you're not showing them. You're the expert. When they don't understand, you're not making it easy enough. They're not confident buying. You're not confident selling. It's got to be the expert's fault. So mine's not about getting better at selling. It's getting rid of all those problems, making it easier to buy.
Those points are so, when you explain it, first of all, we could listen to you forever. Because not only do you have humor, but you got a great voice. You got a great voice, kid. Got a great voice. And with that being said, those are just such, when you're saying it, those points are just they should be smacking people in the face of obviousness, right? And I know that I've seen it be done in exactly how you are talking about, and how just easy it is, and how, even going back to what you originally said, those people that buy under duress are more likely to cancel, less likely to buy more, not really likely to refer. But when they buy underneath the terms in which you just said, they're more likely to buy more, stay longer, refer people, be happier, be more engaged, and be that cheerleader. And it's just really incredible, because it's almost like it's simple, or it's easy, but not simple, or it takes the work to be able to do it. And I know that you work with a lot of clients that kind of shed some of that idea, those ideas or those patterns that they've formed, and then help them rebuild essentially the right mechanisms to move forward to hit those 3 points. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so what I like to do is break a problem down into tiny little components. Like I said, I'm not good at solving hard problems. I'm only good at making hard problems easy. Because that's the only sort of problem I can solve. So if I can make it easy for me, I know anyone else can cope with it. So I break it down into components, tiny little components, and everyone can cope with every tiny component. Again, if you imagine you got to some staircase and there were big steps, there'd be an old person that couldn't get up the stairs. There'd be a young baby that couldn't get up the stairs. But if each step was turned into 3 smaller steps, and each step was turned into 3 smaller steps, it would become a slope. Right? And if that slope was smooth enough and shallow enough, it might take you longer to get to the end, but everyone would get to the end. What happens is people go on up the steps until they get to a step they can't get to anymore. But to buy something, they've got to get to the 10th step, hypothetically. So if they get to the 5th step, they get it until they get to step 5, but they can't get from the 5th step to the 6th step. That's where the whole thing's going to break down. So just break down problems into lots and lots of smaller component parts. So I say to people, are you the best solution to their problem? Well, that's too hard to answer. But if I break it down to, okay, but there's only 3 places they can go, competition, themselves, and nothing, let's take each one on its merits. Now I can start answering each question on its merits and then glue them all back together again. Again, I don't know what year it was, 1967, I'm probably making it up. There was a chap, Roger Bannister, that run the mile in less than 4 minutes. And up to that point, no one had got past this. They couldn't run a mile in less than 4 minutes. And once he did, the floodgates opened because everyone realised it was possible. But one of the biggest problems with people say is it can't be done. When what they mean is, I can't do it. And I can't do it is not the same as it can't be done. I can't run a marathon in less than 4 minutes doesn't mean it can't be done. So if people are focusing on the price of your service, and let's say the problem you're trying to solve is demonstrating value, how much can someone make? If people say it can't be done, I can't see into the future and I can't time travel. Well, big shock to me there. No one can, right? But if you think it can't be done to show someone what they could realistically expect to make, you're not going to look for it. You just sack it in. Now, I don't mind them thinking I don't know how to do it. Can you show me how to do it? That's different from it can't be done. And again, the easiest way to work this, if you see an advert for some weight loss program, they'll have people who have lost a tiny little bit of weight and some people have lost a colossal amount of weight. And somewhere between the tiny little bit and a massive amount will be the average. Right? That'll be the average. So imagine 100 people had lost anything between a little bit and a lot, and then someone else came along and thought, I wonder what sort of results I can get. Again, we don't know what they can do in a year's time, but is it reasonable to imagine this person might get similar results to the previous 100 people who have been through the weight loss program? If the next person thinks it's realistic to get similar results to previous people, at least we've got some boundaries. All right, someone lost between 5 pounds and 3 stone, on average about 1.5 stone. Do you think you could get similar results to all the people who've done it before? Yeah. I can't say categorically they will, but if they think they can do similar things to similar people in the past, we can give them an indication. So it's the same. If you're making money, or saving time, yeah, you're right. You don't know what this person's going to do in a year's time until you get there. But to make the choice easy, they need to get an idea now. So can you give them a realistic idea of what they could do in a year's time based on all the people who've used you in the past? And that's what I teach people. Just 6-year-olds using 6-year-old simple numbers and natural conversations. When people say it depends, of course it depends. It depends on how many people you speak to. It depends on your conversion. It depends on your costs. But what if you could build a model up on all those it depends and multiply it through? You'd end up with something like realistic. To say, look, you give me 500 quid, you might realistically make £6,000. And now that's an easier choice to make. So it's just about breaking things down into tiny little components, tackle each one, glue them back up together which is a lot easier than tackling one major problem and just going from that position. Break it down, rebuild it back up again.
I love that. I had a friend who would always say, you eat elephant one bite at a time. And
Yeah.
also the old saying, especially with sports, we use the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid type of like modality and mentality. And I love how simple you break things down. And the way you look at sales. Absolutely. I can't believe we're already almost at time. So Amanda, you want to ask one last question before
I've just got a key point on that last one, actually, a very quick key point. When you're the expert, you can't remember what it's like to be the beginner, right? I did a degree in maths. Relative to a degree, A level is easy. But if it's out of 100 people, if only 3 people in 100 did A level maths, that means it's too hard for 97, right? So just because it's easy for me, it's too hard for everyone else. It's not easy enough. Keep it simple, stupid is good, but where's the benchmark? How simple is simple? Because everything's simple to the expert. And for the expert can't remember what it's like to be the beginner. It's like trying to forget the twist at the end of a movie. You can try, but unless you've got Alzheimer's, you always know, I know it's going to happen in a minute. You can't. If you can make it so simple a 6-year-old child could explain what you do, there's your benchmark. If you explained your services to a 6-year-old and then got them to repeat it back if they could, now there's your lowest common denominator. If a 6-year-old can get it, everyone can. So keep it simple, stupid, and all these things are great, but where's this benchmark? How simple is simple?
Well, yeah, that's definite. And we'd hope that most people, if you get it to a 6-year-old level, that they would understand it. But maybe
a 6-year-old's got 1 year of English and maths under their belt. So that is, if you can get it there, everyone else is coming on the journey with you.
you got it. Amanda, do you have a last question for him?
What do you think is one thing that if you could go back in time, what would you tell, like when you're first starting out in sales, what's something you would tell yourself as a tip for the future of your sales career?
Fail quicker. I used to play a bit of chess, and so the thing in chess, you sort of thinking moves ahead so you don't make any blunders. And so this whole mentality came on for ages, always like thinking and thinking and thinking and overthinking to make sure you don't make any blunders. And as soon as you make a blunder, especially in business, you think, crikey, I've learned 10 times more in that blunder than getting it right. So it's like fail quicker. Just fail quicker. You don't learn from getting it right, you learn from getting it wrong. So don't try to avoid it, try to bring it on. Fail quicker, you'll get to your intended target much faster.
I love that because for so long, I lived in this perfectionist world of like, I can't mess up on this sale. I can't mess up on this project. I can't mess up on this client relation or whatever. But the ones I failed on and failed just miserably, horribly failed, I have learned 1,000 times more on that one instance than I did on, 5 years of not quote unquote making a mistake. It just makes so much of the difference.
And I say to people, I can't help you out because I'm better than you. I can help you out because I was worse than you. I've failed on the price value, on the confidence and the messaging more times than most people have tried. That's where the strength comes from. I calculated over 11,000 hours of mistakes over 24 years. I've helped businesses grow over 30 million quid. But I don't want someone else to have to make 11,000 hours of mistakes when I can show them in a handful how to avoid it. And it's that we're all better because rather than failing and giving in, we failed and carried on and worked out the next solution and the next solution and the next solution. So my strength is really my weakness, but I've just got past it.
1,000%.
Absolutely. And this was such a pleasure. We definitely enjoyed having you in the book. And on this podcast, I'm sure we'll be inviting you back just because 1, you're great to talk with, but 2, like, I love the way that you look at things and even challenge like the way we break down things to go even further. And I love that because it's so important for us to, Learn from others' mistakes, learn from our own, and to really make it super simple with those benchmarkers. And I just appreciate you being on
Thanks
the,
for the time.
yeah. So do you mind telling people how they can get a hold of you? Like what's the best, and of course all this will be in the show notes, but what's the best place for somebody to find you?
I mean, the easiest places are either the website, ingenius.co.uk, or LinkedIn. If you can't find Ingenius on LinkedIn, something's seriously gone awry. The picture is not of a man with a luxurious plumage of a beard like this, but there is on Ingenius with an ingenious alternative to selling. So LinkedIn or ingenius.co.uk would be fantastic. Drop me a message.
Awesome. And we will definitely be putting all of this into the show notes for you. So please check him out, follow him. And Ian, I don't know if you've ever been told this, but you really should have like your own TV show because you're quite the character and you have great nuggets. So I want royalties if you start a TV show.
We'll take 10%. We'll take 10%.
We can manage you. Ian, thank you so much for coming on. Yeah. And until next time,
Let's get after it.
all right, everyone, it's not enough to just listen.
Now you've got to put it into action.
We are so excited to see what you do next.
If you enjoyed our show, please leave us a review on iTunes.
And to find out more about what we're doing, visit us at thepursuitofbadasserie.com.